The numbers didn't add up. They never lied. Elena had learned that in her first accounting class at NYU. Numbers were honest, pure, incorruptible. It was the people behind them who lied, and the people behind Apex Import-Export were lying spectacularly. Elena Volkov. No, Elena Anders. Now, she reminded herself, stared at her computer screen in the quiet office. Everyone else long gone for the evening. The spreadsheet glowed in the darkness, columns of figures that told a story her boss definitely hadn't noticed when he'd assigned her this new client. Shell companies, inflated invoices, money moving through offshore accounts in patterns that screamed money laundering to anyone who knew what to look for. And Elena knew exactly what to look for. She'd grown up watching her uncle's accountant do the same thing. Before she'd run away at 18 and changed her last name from Volkov to her mother's maiden name. Before she'd tried to become someone clean. "Damn it," she whispered, pushing her glasses up her nose. She should close the file, tell her boss the client was too complex, recommend they refer Apex to a larger firm. That's what a smart person would do. But Elena had never been smart about curiosity. It's what had gotten her into trouble with her family in the first place. Asking too many questions, seeing too much, understanding the business in ways a teenage girl shouldn't. She pulled up another file, tracing the money flow. Apex Import-Export was a front, obviously. But for what? Drugs? Weapons? Human trafficking? The office door opened. Elena's hands froze over the keyboard. She'd locked that door. She always locked it when working late. Ever since that incident 6 months ago with the break-in 2 floors down. "Burning the midnight oil, cousin?" The voice was male, accented, Russian undertones wrapped in American polish. Always so dedicated to your work. Elena's blood turned to ice. That voice. She knew that voice from family gatherings she'd spent years trying to forget. From the uncle's funeral she'd skipped. From the life she'd run from. She spun her chair slowly, and there he stood in her doorway, like a nightmare made flesh. Nikolai Volkov. Tall, at least 6'3", with dark hair swept back from a face that belonged on ancient coins, sharp cheekbones, a mouth that looked carved from marble, and eyes the color of winter ice. He wore a suit that probably cost more than her monthly rent, charcoal gray with a black shirt underneath. No tie. The casual elegance of a man who knew he was untouchable. "You..." Elena's voice came out strangled. "You can't be here." And yet, here I am. Nikolai stepped inside, closing the door behind him with a soft click that sounded like a cell door slamming. "It's been what? 8 years? You've changed, Lena. Glasses, professional wardrobe, American name." He tilted his head, studying her like a predator assessing prey. "But I'd know my favorite cousin anywhere." "I'm not your cousin anymore. I changed my name. I left the family." "Did you?" He moved closer, and Elena resisted the urge to roll her chair back. "Because from where I'm standing, you're neck-deep in family business. Quite literally, in fact." He gestured to her computer screen, and Elena's stomach dropped. "Apex Import-Export," Nikolai continued, his voice conversational. "That's mine. Has been for 3 years. A useful little enterprise for moving certain commodities through customs without unnecessary questions." "I didn't know. Didn't you?" He leaned against her desk, too close, invading her carefully maintained personal space. "Come now, Lena. You're brilliant with numbers. You've been staring at those spreadsheets for 3 hours. You know exactly what Apex is." Elena's mind raced. How long had he been watching? How did he even know she worked here? "I was going to report it," she said, lifting her chin despite the fear clawing at her throat. "Turn the files over to the IRS, maybe the FBI." "No, you weren't." Nikolai's smile was cold. "Because you're too smart for that. You know what happens to people who report Volkov business to authorities. You watched it happen to your friend Alexei. Remember? When you were 16? The memory hit her like a physical blow. Alexei, her uncle's driver, who'd threatened to go to the police. They'd found him in the river 2 weeks later. "I'm not part of your world anymore," Elena whispered. "Aren't you?" Nikolai pulled out his phone, tapped something, and turned the screen to face her. "This is your apartment. 3 blocks from here. 2nd floor, corner unit. You keep your spare key under the mat. Very unsafe, by the way. You eat the same lunch every day from the deli downstairs. You video call your mother every Sunday at 10 a.m. You've been stalking me? I've been keeping track of family." He pocketed the phone. "We lost you 8 years ago. Did you really think we wouldn't look? That we'd just let a Volkov disappear into the American dream? I'm not a Volkov. Not anymore. Blood doesn't lie, cousin, just like numbers don't lie." He reached out, and Elena flinched, but he only removed her glasses, folding them carefully. "You have your mother's eyes. The Volkov green. You can change your name, your wardrobe, your entire life, but you can't change your blood." "Why are you here?" Elena's hands gripped the armrests of her chair. "If you've been watching me for years, why show up now?" "Because you've become a problem." Nikolai set her glasses on the desk. 3 organizations use your firm for accounting. Mine, obviously. The Bratva out of Brooklyn. And the Calabrese family. All of us thought this little firm was neutral territory. Too small to notice, too clean to investigate. But I noticed. But you noticed. His eyes held hers, and something flickered in their icy depths. "And if you noticed my operation, how long before you noticed the others? How long before you realize you're sitting on enough evidence to bring down half the organized crime in New York? So you're here to kill me." Elena was surprised by how steady her voice sounded. "To tie up the loose end. If I wanted you dead, Lena, you'd have been dead 8 years ago." Nikolai straightened, towering over her. "No, I'm here to bring you home. Back to the family, back where you belong. I don't belong in your world." "You never belonged anywhere else." He extended his hand. "You're brilliant, meticulous, and you see patterns others miss. Do you have any idea how valuable that makes you? How much the family needs someone with your skills? I won't help you launder money. You already are. You've been doing Apex's books for 3 months. He smiled at her shocked expression. "Yes. I made sure your boss assigned you to my account. Wanted to see if you'd recognize it, if the family training stuck despite your best efforts to forget." "That's..." Elena stood, backing away from him. "That's insane. I'm calling the police." "And telling them what? That your cousin is visiting you at work? That you've discovered evidence of money laundering, but have been sitting on it for 3 months without reporting it?" Nikolai's expression didn't change. "That makes you an accessory, cousin. You go to the police, you go to jail alongside me. I could run, disappear again. For 8 years you thought you had, but I always knew exactly where you were." He moved closer, and this time Elena had nowhere to retreat. Her back against the filing cabinet. "You can't run from blood, Lena. It follows you. It finds you. It calls you home." "This isn't home." "No?" He reached past her, pulling open the filing cabinet drawer, extracting a folder with her legal name change documents. "Elena Anders, American Dream, Clean Life, and every Sunday you call your mother in Brighton Beach and pretend you're something you're not. Do you think she believes it? That any of us believe it?" "What do you want from me?" Nikolai's hand came up to cup her face, his thumb brushing her cheekbone in a gesture that felt far too intimate for cousins. "I want you to stop pretending, stop running, come back to the family, work for me directly, and use that brilliant mind where it belongs. And if I refuse, then I'll be very disappointed." His voice dropped lower, more dangerous. "And the Calabrese family will be very interested to learn that their accountant is actually a Volkov who's been examining all their financial records. I wonder how long you'd survive that revelation." Elena's breath caught. "You'd throw me to them?" "I'd rather not. You're family. Family is everything." His hand dropped. "But I will protect what's mine, Lena. My operations, my territory, my business. And if you're not with me, you're a threat I can't afford." The office felt impossibly small, the walls closing in. 8 years of running, of building a clean life, of trying to be someone different, all of it crumbling in the span of one conversation. "Come home, cousin," Nikolai said softly. "Back to the family. Back where you belong." "And if I do?" Elena forced herself to meet his eyes. "What happens to me?" His smile was slow, possessive, and entirely too satisfied. "Then you become mine, my accountant, my advisor, my—" He paused. "My most valuable asset. Under my protection, my control, my rules." "That sounds like a prison. That sounds like family." He extended his hand again. "Choose, Lena. Come home or face the consequences of staying lost." Elena stared at his hand, strong, scarred, stained with sins she didn't want to imagine. Behind him, her computer still glowed with evidence of crimes she'd tried so hard not to see. She'd run once, changed her name, built a new life. But Nikolai was right about one thing. Blood didn't lie. And the Volkov blood in her veins was calling her home, whether she wanted to answer or not. Slowly, hating herself for it, Elena placed her hand in his. Nikolai's fingers closed around hers like a trap, warm and inescapable. "Welcome home, cousin," he said. "We have so much catching up to do." Nikolai's penthouse occupied the top 3 floors of a building in Tribeca that Elena was certain didn't appear on any public records. The elevator required a key card and biometric scan. The hallway had no apartment numbers, no neighbors, just a single reinforced door at the end. "Home sweet home," Nikolai said, his hand still wrapped around hers as he guided her inside. The space was exactly what Elena expected, and nothing like it at the same time. Yes, there was wealth, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Hudson, artwork that belonged in museums, furniture that whispered Italian design. But there was also warmth. Books in Russian and English lining built-in shelves, a chess set mid-game on a side table, photos in silver frames showing faces Elena recognized from childhood. Family. "Your room is upstairs. Second door on the left," Nikolai said, finally releasing her hand. "Your clothes have already been moved from your apartment." Elena spun to face him. "You moved my clothes? When?" "While we were talking. I had people at your apartment the moment you took my hand." He shrugged off his suit jacket, draping it over a chair. "Efficient, no? That's kidnapping. That's family taking care of family." He moved to a bar cart, poured 2 glasses of vodka. "Besides, you agreed. You took my hand. That makes this relocation voluntary." "Under duress." "Under protection." He offered her a glass. "Drink. You look pale." "I don't drink." "You do tonight." It wasn't a suggestion. Elena took the glass, the crystal heavy in her hand. The vodka was clear as water, probably cost more than her weekly salary. She took a sip, felt the burn all the way down. "Good girl," Nikolai murmured, and something about the approval in his voice made her skin flush. "Stop calling me that." "Why? You are good. Too good for the life you've been living, wasting your talents on small-time tax returns and corporate audits." He settled into a leather armchair, gestured for her to sit. "You were meant for more, Lena." "Don't call me that either. My name is Elena." "Your name is whatever I say it is." But his tone was almost playful. "Sit. We have business to discuss." Elena remained standing. "What kind of business?" "The kind that will keep you alive." Nikolai sipped his vodka, watching her over the rim of his glass. "You've been examining books for 3 different organizations without knowing it. That makes you dangerous to all of them. The Calabrese family. Especially. They don't like loose ends." "So you keep saying, but if I'm such a threat, why didn't they come for me before?" "Because they didn't know who you were. Elena Anders, CPA, means nothing to them. But Elena Volkov?" His smile was cold. "That name means something. That name has history, and the moment they connect the two, you become a target they can't ignore." "Then don't tell them." "I won't, but eventually someone will figure it out. Your mother still lives in Brighton Beach, still goes to the same Russian Orthodox church, still tells anyone who'll listen about her brilliant daughter working in Manhattan." He set down his glass. "How long before someone makes the connection?" Elena's stomach knotted. She hadn't thought about that, hadn't considered how her mother's pride might endanger them both. "So what's your solution?" she asked. "Keep me locked in this penthouse forever? Make you officially part of my organization, put you under my protection publicly. Let everyone know that Elena Volkov works for me, and touching her means going through me." Nikolai stood, closing the distance between them. "No one will touch you then. Not the Calabresi, not the Bratva, not anyone. And in exchange, you do what you do best. You look at numbers, find patterns, make my operations more efficient." His hand came up to tilt her chin, forcing her to meet his eyes. "You belong to me now, cousin. Might as well make the most of it." This is insane. This is survival. He released her, moved to the windows. "Tomorrow, I'll introduce you to my organization. My advisors, my captains, my soldiers. They'll know your family, that you're under my direct protection. No one touches you without my permission." How generous. "It is, actually." He turned back to face her. "Do you know how rare it is for me to extend protection to anyone? I'm not known for my mercy, Lena. People fear me because I'm efficient, brutal when necessary, and I never let sentiment cloud my judgment." "Then why are you doing this for me?" "Because you're family. Because—" He stopped, something flickering across his face. "Because 8 years ago, when you ran, it felt like losing a piece of the family I'd never get back. And Volkovs don't lose what belongs to them." Elena's breath caught at the raw honesty in his voice. "I'm not a possession." "Aren't you?" He moved closer again, and Elena found herself backed against the windows, cold glass at her spine. "You took my hand. You came here willingly. You're drinking my vodka in my home. Whether you admit it or not, you're already mine. That's not. Tomorrow morning, 9 a.m., I'm taking you to my office. Real office, not Apex Import-Export. That's just a shell. You'll meet my financial team, take over the accounting for all my legitimate and illegitimate operations." His hand pressed against the glass beside her head, caging her in. "You'll be efficient, brilliant, and you will not question my methods. Understood? And if I refuse, you won't." His certainty was absolute. Because underneath all that running, all that pretending to be someone clean, you're still a Volkov, and Volkovs take care of family business. He was too close. Elena could smell his cologne, something expensive and dark, with notes of cedar and smoke. Could see the faint scar above his eyebrow, the sharp intelligence in those ice-blue eyes. "I'm not like you," she whispered. "No?" His free hand came up, pulling the pins from her hair. Dark waves tumbled down, and Nikolai caught a strand between his fingers. "When you were 16, you rewrote your uncle's books after the IRS started sniffing around, made 3 years of money laundering disappear like magic. You think I don't remember?" "I was a kid. I didn't know what I was doing." "You knew exactly what you were doing. You saved the family business, saved your uncle from federal prison. Then you ran because you were scared of how good you were at it." He released her hair, but didn't step back. "But you can't run from talent, Lena. It follows you, just like blood does." Elena wanted to argue, to push him away, to maintain the fiction that she was different from her family. But standing here in this penthouse, after examining those books and seeing patterns she wasn't supposed to see, she knew he was right. She'd always known what Apex was, had known from the first spreadsheet. But instead of reporting it immediately, she'd spent 3 months digging deeper, understanding the operation, even finding ways it could be more efficient. Because she was her family's daughter, whether she'd changed her name or not. "What happens now?" she asked quietly. "Now you stop fighting, stop pretending, stop running." Nikolai's hand cupped her face again, and this time Elena didn't pull away. "You accept who you are, what you are, and you let me protect you the way family should. By controlling me, by keeping you safe." His thumb traced her lower lip, and Elena's breath hitched. "The world you walked away from. It's gotten more dangerous, more violent. The old rules don't apply anymore, and a woman alone, even a brilliant one, won't survive it. but a woman under your protection will. A woman under my protection becomes untouchable." His voice dropped lower. "You're a Volkov, Lena. Start acting like one." Before Elena could respond, Nikolai's phone buzzed. He checked it, his expression darkening. "Problem?" Elena asked. "Calabresi made a move tonight, hit one of my warehouses." He was already texting back, his jaw tight. "They're testing boundaries, seeing how I'll respond." "Will you retaliate?" "Of course." He looked up, and the cold calculation in his eyes sent a chill down Elena's spine. "But first, I'll make sure they understand you're off limits. Can't have them thinking you're fair game." "How will you do that?" Nikolai's smile was all teeth. "Tomorrow's introduction just became much more public. I'll make sure every family in New York knows Elena Volkov is back, and she's under my direct protection." "That'll make me a target." "That'll make you my target. There's a difference." He pocketed his phone. "Get some rest. Tomorrow's going to be a long day." "Nikolai." Elena caught his arm as he turned away. "Why are you really doing this?" "The truth." He looked at her for a long moment, something unreadable in his expression. "Because 8 years ago I promised your mother I'd keep you safe if you ever came back. Because you're the only family I have left who isn't corrupted by this life yet. And because—" He stopped. "Because what?" "Because I'm selfish enough to want to keep you close, even if it means dragging you into darkness with me." His hand covered hers where it gripped his arm. "Now go to bed, Lena, while I still have the restraint to let you go." The undercurrent in his voice made Elena drop her hand like she'd been burned. Nikolai left without another word, disappearing down the hallway, leaving her alone with her racing thoughts and the terrifying realization that she'd just agreed to become part of the world she'd spent 8 years escaping. And the most dangerous part? Some small, buried piece of her was relieved to stop running, to stop pretending, to finally be seen for what she really was, a Volkov. For better or worse, she was home. Elena didn't sleep. She spent the night in the guest room, which was bigger than her entire apartment, staring at the ceiling and trying to process how her life had imploded in a single evening. At 8 a.m., someone knocked. Not Nikolai, a woman, maybe 40, with sharp eyes and a business suit. "Miss Volkov, I'm Irina. Mr. Volkov sent me to help you prepare for today's meeting." She carried a garment bag and a makeup case. "May I come in?" Elena nodded, too exhausted to argue. What followed was a transformation. Irina worked with quiet efficiency, selecting an outfit from the garment bag, doing Elena's makeup with a practiced hand, styling her hair into a sleek twist that looked both professional and severe. "There," Irina said, stepping back. "Now you look like a Volkov." Elena stared at herself in the mirror. The woman looking back was a stranger, elegant, composed, dangerous. The soft accountant was gone, replaced by something harder. "He wants you downstairs in 10 minutes, Irina said, packing her supplies. "Don't be late. Mr. Volkov doesn't tolerate tardiness." Nikolai waited in the living room, dressed in a black suit with a dark gray shirt, no tie. He looked every inch the crime lord. Powerful, controlled, lethal. His eyes swept over Elena, and something flickered in their icy depths. "Perfect. You look like family now. I look like a stranger. You look like who you were always meant to be." He offered his arm. "Come. We have people to meet." The car was a black Mercedes with bulletproof glass and 2 armed men in the front seat. Nikolai sat close to Elena in the back, his thigh pressed against hers, his presence overwhelming. "Today's meeting is critical," he said as they drove through Manhattan. "I'm introducing you to the 5 families, not just mine, but the major players in New York. Calabresi, Romano, Chen, Petrov, and Volkov. It's rare for all of us to meet." "Why are we meeting?" "Because the Calabresi hit on my warehouse wasn't random. It was a message, and I'm sending one back." His hand found hers, fingers intertwining. "By introducing you publicly, by declaring you're under my protection, I'm telling them I have something valuable, something worth protecting. It shows strength, not weakness." "You're using me as a prop." "I'm using you as a declaration." He squeezed her hand. "And when they see how valuable you are, When they understand what you can do, they'll think twice before moving against me. The meeting was held in a private room at an upscale restaurant in Little Italy, the kind of place tourists never found, where the wine list was in Italian and the owner greeted Nikolai by name. Inside, 4 men waited at a large round table. Elena recognized the power dynamic immediately. They'd been talking before Nikolai arrived, forming alliances, making deals. "Volkov," one man said, standing. He was older, maybe 60, with silver hair and a face that had seen violence. "You're late." "I'm exactly on time, Calabresi." Nikolai guided Elena forward with a hand on her lower back. "And I brought a guest. Gentlemen, allow me to introduce Elena Volkov, my cousin, my new financial advisor. And under my direct protection." The room went silent. "Elena Volkov," the silver-haired man, Calabresi, repeated slowly. "The girl who disappeared 8 years ago. Your uncle spoke of her often, said she had a gift for numbers." "She does." Nikolai pulled out a chair for Elena, positioned directly at his right hand. "Which is why she now works exclusively for me. Her brilliance, her insights, her loyalty, all mine." "Interesting timing," another man said. Asian, maybe 40, with cold, calculating eyes. "Chen," Elena guessed. "Your warehouse gets hit, and suddenly you parade a long-lost cousin in front of us. Feels like posturing." "It's a statement of fact." Nikolai sat, his body angled slightly toward Elena, protective even in posture. "Elena has been examining books for all of us, unknowingly, through her former firm. She's seen operations, patterns, vulnerabilities. That makes her valuable, and dangerous if she were in the wrong hands." "So you secured her," Chen said. "Smart." "I protected family." Nikolai's voice hardened. "She's a Volkov. That means she's untouchable. I'm making that clear to everyone in this room." Calabresi leaned forward. "And if we object to you hoarding such a valuable asset? Then you'll learn why people fear the Volkov name." Nikolai's hand moved to Elena's, covering it possessively on the table where everyone could see. "She's mine, my blood, my family, my advisor. Anyone who touches her, threatens her, or even looks at her wrong will answer to me personally." The threat hung in the air, heavy and undeniable. "Possessive, Nikolai," a younger man said. "Italian accent, expensive suit, cruel eyes. Romano." "One might think she's more than just a cousin." "One would be wise to keep such thoughts to themselves," Nikolai said quietly, and the temperature in the room dropped. Elena sat frozen, understanding dawning. This wasn't just about protection. Nikolai was claiming her in a way that went beyond family, beyond business. He was marking territory, making a statement about ownership that everyone in this room understood. "Ms. Volkov," Calabresi said, turning his attention to her, "do you agree with this arrangement, being your cousin's advisor?" Elena felt Nikolai's hand tighten on hers, a warning, a reminder. "I go where my family needs me," she said carefully. "Blood calls to blood, and Nikolai is right. I am a Volkov. That loyalty comes first." "Loyalty can be bought," Chen observed. "Not mine." Elena met his eyes. "I've seen what happens to people who betray the Volkov family. I'm not interested in that fate." Something shifted in the room. Respect, maybe, or acknowledgement. She'd proven she understood the rules. "Then we're clear," Nikolai said, standing. His hand went to Elena's shoulder, a possessive gesture that made several men at the table exchange glances. "Elena is off limits. She works for me, lives under my protection, and reports only to me. Anyone who forgets that will regret it." "Understood," Calabresi said finally. "We have no interest in starting a war over one woman, even a talented one." "Good." Nikolai helped Elena to her feet. "Then this meeting is over. Elena has work to do." Outside, in the car, Elena let out a breath she hadn't realized she'd been holding. "You did well," Nikolai said. "They believe you're loyal." "That's crucial." "I am loyal. I don't have a choice." "You always have a choice." His hand found her face, turning her to look at him. But I'm glad you're choosing survival, choosing family, choosing me. That's not what I'm... Isn't it? He leaned closer, and Elena's breath caught. You stood by my side in that room. You claimed the Volkov name. You let me touch you, claim you, mark you as mine in front of the most dangerous men in New York. His thumb traced her jaw. Whether you admit it or not, Lena, you've already chosen. I chose not to die. You chose me. His voice was certainty itself. Everything else is just details. Before Elena could argue, his phone rang. Nikolai answered, listened, his expression darkening. When? A pause. How many? Another pause. I'm on my way. He ended the call, his jaw tight with barely controlled fury. What happened? Elena asked. The Calabrese family just made another move, bigger this time. They hit 3 of my locations simultaneously, warehouses, a shipping dock, and a club in Queens. His eyes met hers, cold and lethal. They're testing me, seeing if declaring you off limits was a sign of weakness. What are you going to do? Show them it wasn't. He leaned forward to the driver. Take us to the Queens location and call everyone. I want full force ready. Nikolai. Elena grabbed his arm. Please don't start a war over me. I'm not starting it over you. His hand covered hers, but his expression remained hard. I'm ending it because of you. They need to understand that what's mine stays mine. And you, cousin, are mine in every way that matters. The possessiveness in his voice sent a shiver down Elena's spine that had nothing to do with fear. The club in Queens was called Red Winter, a legitimate front for some of Nikolai's less legitimate activities. When they arrived, smoke still rose from the back entrance, and police tape cordoned off the perimeter. They used incendiary devices, one of Nikolai's men reported, his face grim. Time to go off during peak hours. We evacuated in time. No casualties on our side, but the damage is extensive. And theirs? Nikolai's voice was ice. 2 men caught on security cameras planting the devices. We have faces, license plates, already tracking them. Good. Nikolai turned to Elena. Stay in the car. No. She grabbed his arm before he could leave. If this is because of me, I should see what it cost. Lena, please. She met his eyes. Let me understand what declaring me yours really means. Something flickered in his expression. Surprise, maybe, or respect. He nodded once. The interior of Red Winter was devastation. Burned walls, shattered glass, the acrid smell of smoke and chemicals. Elena walked through the wreckage, her stomach churning. People came here to drink, dance, live. Now it was a war zone. This is my fault, she whispered. No. Nikolai was beside her instantly, his hand on her shoulder. This is Calabrese testing boundaries, using you as an excuse, but they would have found another reason eventually. How can you be so calm? Because I've been through this before. Territory disputes, power plays, violence. His hand slid down her arm to grasp her hand. The only difference this time is, I have something worth protecting. Something that makes winning matter more than just pride. Elena looked up at him. Me? You. His thumb stroked across her knuckles. 8 years, Lena. 8 years I've built this empire alone. No family, no one I trusted completely. And then you walk back into my life, brilliant and stubborn and everything I didn't know I needed. Nikolai, I'm not letting them take you from me, not Calabrese, not anyone. His free hand cupped her face. You're mine. I've said it publicly. I've claimed you in front of the 5 families. Now I'm going to prove it by destroying anyone who thinks otherwise. That's not protection, that's possession. In my world, they're the same thing. He leaned closer, and Elena's breath caught. And you knew that, when you took my hand yesterday. You knew what claiming the Volkov name meant. Before Elena could respond, another of Nikolai's men approached, younger, maybe 30, with a phone in hand. Boss, we've got them. The 2 who planted the devices. They're holed up in a warehouse in Brooklyn. Do we move? Yes. Nikolai released Elena, his entire demeanor shifting to cold calculation. Full team. I want them alive. I have questions, and send word to Calabresi that we're coming for his men. Let him sweat about what I'll do when I find them." "Nikolai, wait." Elena grabbed his arm again. "What are you going to do to them? What needs to be done?" "That's not an answer." He turned back to her, and the look in his eyes made her step back involuntarily. "They tried to burn down my establishment. Could have killed dozens of people. They did it because Calabresi wanted to send me a message about daring to protect you." His voice dropped dangerously. "So I'm going to send one back, about what happens to people who threaten what's mine. You're going to kill them. I'm going to make an example of them." He caught her chin, forcing her to meet his eyes. "This is who I am, Lena. This is what the Volkov name means. Violence when necessary. Brutality when required. I don't apologize for it. I'm not asking you to apologize. I'm asking you not to become a monster because of me." Something softened in his expression. "Too late for that, cousin. I've been a monster for years. You're just the first person I've cared enough about to show restraint around." He kissed her forehead, brief, possessive, and then he was gone, taking half his men with him. Elena stood in the ruined club, surrounded by destruction, and understood with crystal clarity what her return to the Volkov family meant, not just for her, but for everyone around her. Miss Volkov. Irina appeared, the same woman who'd helped her dress that morning. "Mr. Volkov requested I take you back to the penthouse. It's not safe for you here. Because people want to use me against him. Because you're valuable. To him, to the organization, to anyone who wants leverage over Nikolai Volkov." Irina's expression was sympathetic. "It's the price of being claimed by a man like him." In the car, Elena stared out the window at the city passing by. Somewhere out there, Nikolai was hunting the men who'd attacked his business, and when he found them, he'd do unspeakable things in her name. The thought should have horrified her. Instead, some dark part of her, the part that was truly Volkov, felt satisfied, protected, claimed. What did that say about her? Back at the penthouse, Elena tried to distract herself with work. Nikolai had meant what he said about making her his financial advisor. There were files waiting, operations that needed analyzing, money flows that required understanding. She lost herself in numbers for 3 hours. Numbers didn't judge, didn't require moral compromises, didn't make her question who she was becoming. The door opened just after 9 p.m. Nikolai entered, and Elena's breath caught. Blood on his shirt, bruises forming on his knuckles. But his expression was satisfied, cold victory in his eyes. "It's done," he said simply. "What did you do? What needed to be done?" He moved to the bar, poured vodka, drank it straight. "Calabresi's men won't be a problem anymore, and Calabresi himself received a very clear message about respecting Volkov territory. You killed them. I made examples of them." He poured another drink. "Their bodies will be found in locations that make Calabresi look weak, ineffective. By tomorrow, half his organization will be questioning his leadership." Elena stood, moving toward him. "And you feel nothing about that? About taking lives?" "I feel relief that the threat is handled." Nikolai set down his glass, his eyes finding hers. "I feel satisfaction that you're safe. And I feel..." He paused. "I feel something I haven't felt in years. Purpose beyond just survival and power." "What purpose?" "You." He closed the distance between them. "Protecting you. Keeping you safe. Making sure no one ever threatens you again." His hands framed her face. "You've given me something to fight for, beyond just territory and pride. I didn't ask for that." "No. But you gave it to me anyway." His forehead touched hers. "Tell me you understand, Lena. Tell me you see why I had to do what I did." Elena wanted to pull away, to maintain moral high ground, to insist she was different from this world. But standing here, with Nikolai's blood-stained hands gentle on her face, she couldn't lie. "I understand," she whispered, "and that terrifies me." "Good." His lips brushed her temple. "Fear keeps you cautious. Caution keeps you alive." "Is that what we're doing?" just surviving. No. He pulled back just enough to meet her eyes. We're doing something much more dangerous. We're building something together. You with your brilliance, me with my power. The Volkov empire stronger than it's ever been. And what am I in this empire? Your accountant? Your advisor? You're mine. Simple. Absolute. My cousin by blood. My advisor by choice. He hesitated. My weakness and my strength all at once. Nikolai, I know it's wrong. I know cousins shouldn't. He stopped, jaw tightening. But blood is complicated in families like ours, and what I feel for you goes beyond familial duty. Elena's heart hammered. What are you saying? I'm saying I've spent 8 years trying to forget you. 8 years pretending I only wanted you back for business reasons. 8 years lying to myself. His hands tightened on her face. But the truth is, I've wanted you since we were teenagers, since before you ran, and now that you're back, now that you're here, I'm not letting you go. We're cousins. Distant cousins, 4th generation at most. His thumb traced her lower lip. Not close enough to matter in any legal sense, but close enough that I can claim you as family and no one questions it. This is insane. This is truth. He leaned closer, his breath warm against her lips. Tell me you don't feel it too. Tell me these 2 days haven't changed something between us. Elena wanted to deny it, wanted to push him away and maintain the fiction that this was just about survival, about family obligation. But she'd never been good at lying to herself. I feel it, she admitted, but that doesn't make it right. Nothing about our world is right, Lena. We deal in violence and crime and moral compromises every day. His lips brushed hers, barely a touch. At least this, what's between us, is honest. Elena didn't sleep again that night. She lay in bed replaying Nikolai's words, the way he'd looked at her, the barely restrained hunger in his eyes. This was wrong, dangerous, crossing lines that shouldn't be crossed. But God help her. She wanted it anyway. Morning came with a knock on her door. Not Irina this time. Nikolai himself, dressed casually in dark jeans and a black sweater, looking less like a crime lord and more like the boy she'd known years ago. Get dressed, he said. We're going out. Where? Somewhere away from all this. You've been in the penthouse for 2 days, dealing with violence and threats. You need air. 20 minutes later, they were in his car heading north out of the city. No armed guards this time, no bulletproof Mercedes. Just Nikolai driving a sleek Audi, one hand on the wheel, the other resting on the console between them. Where are we going? Elena asked. Somewhere I go when the weight of the empire gets too heavy. He glanced at her. Somewhere I want to share with you. They drove for an hour, leaving Manhattan behind for rolling hills and autumn trees. Finally, Nikolai turned onto a private road that led to a house, no, a cottage, nestled in the woods overlooking a lake. This is yours? Elena asked as they parked. My father's. He bought it years ago, before everything went to hell. Said every Volkov needed a place away from the business, somewhere to remember who they were beneath all the violence. Nikolai helped her out of the car. I come here maybe twice a year, to think, to breathe. Inside, the cottage was simple but comfortable. Stone fireplace, worn furniture, books in Russian and English. Photos on the mantel showing Nikolai as a child, with parents Elena barely remembered. They died when you were 16, Elena said softly, picking up a photo. Car accident, or that's what the police report said. Nikolai's voice was flat. I've always suspected the Calabrese family, but I could never prove it. Is that why you hate them? I hate them because they're animals who profit from human suffering. The potential involvement in my parents' death is just personal motivation. He took the photo from her, studied it. My father would have liked you. He always said the family needed someone who could see patterns, understand the business on a level deeper than just violence. Your father was in the life? Born into it, just like me. Just like you. He set the photo down. But he tried to be something better. Tried to keep the family operations clean, or as clean as this life allows. He failed, obviously, The Volkovs have always been what we are, but he tried. Elena touched his arm. You miss him. Every day. His hand covered hers. He would have told me to let you go. To send you far away from this life, give you the freedom he never had. But you didn't. Because I'm selfish. Because I want you close. Because... He turned to face her fully. Because the thought of you out there, unprotected, belonging to no one, drove me insane for 8 years. Nikolai, let me show you something. He led her to a bedroom upstairs, opened a drawer in the dresser. Inside were photos, dozens of them, all of Elena, her graduation from NYU, her first day at the accounting firm, having coffee with friends, walking through Central Park. You've been watching me this whole time, Elena whispered. I needed to know you were safe, that you were okay. He pulled out one photo, Elena laughing at something, her face bright and unguarded. This one is my favorite. You looked happy, free, everything I wanted for you. Then why bring me back? Because you stopped being safe the moment you started examining those books. Because I couldn't protect you from a distance anymore. Because... His jaw tightened. Because I was dying slowly, knowing you were out there living a life that didn't include me. Elena's heart pounded. That's not love. That's obsession. In families like ours, they're the same thing. He cupped her face. I'm obsessed with you, Lena. Have been since we were teenagers, and you looked at me like I was more than just the future head of a crime family. Like I was human. You are human. Am I? His laugh was bitter. I've killed men with my bare hands. I've ordered deaths, destroyed lives, built an empire on suffering. What's human about that? The fact that you care, that you brought me here, to this place your father loved, that you kept photos of me to make sure I was happy. Elena's hands came up to cover his. That's human, Nikolai. That's real. And what we're doing? This thing between us? Is that real too? I don't know. Honest, raw. All I know is when I'm near you, I can't breathe properly. When you touch me, I forget why this is wrong. And when you look at me like you're looking at me now. He kissed her. Not gentle, not tentative, but claiming. His mouth moved over hers with possession and hunger, hands sliding into her hair, pulling her closer. Elena melted into him, her hands fisting in his sweater, kissing him back with 8 years of repressed want and confusion and need. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Nikolai's forehead pressed against hers. Tell me to stop, he whispered. Tell me this crosses too many lines. It does. Then tell me to stop. I can't. Elena's hands slid up his chest. I should, but I can't. Lena. His phone rang. Nikolai cursed, checked it, his expression darkening instantly. What? Elena asked. Calabresi made another move, not against my businesses this time. He showed her the message. Against your mother. Elena's blood ran cold. What? They sent men to her apartment. She's safe. My people got there first, but they made their intention clear. They're escalating, using your family to get to you, to get to me. Oh, God. Elena grabbed the phone. I need to call her. She's already on her way here. Secure transport, 3 guards. She'll be here in 2 hours. Nikolai pulled Elena into his arms. I should have anticipated this. Should have moved her to safety the moment I claimed you. This is my fault. This is war. His arms tightened around her. And in war, they target what we love most. Calabresi knows I declared you mine. Now he's testing how far I'll go to keep you safe. How far will you go? As far as it takes. He pulled back to look at her. I'm going to end this, Lena. Tonight. I'm going to Calabresi's compound, and I'm going to finish what he started. That's suicide. His compound will be fortified, heavily guarded. I don't care. His voice was steel. He threatened your mother. He crossed the last line I have. If I let that stand, I look weak. And weakness in this business is death. Then I'm coming with you. Absolutely not. You don't get to decide. Elena grabbed his arms. "If you're starting a war in my name, I'm not hiding while you fight it." "Lena, I'm a Volkov, remember? You keep telling me to act like one, so let me." She lifted her chin. "I'm coming with you, and you're not going to stop me." Nikolai stared at her, and despite the fear and anger in his eyes, something else flickered there too. Pride. "You're going to get yourself killed," he said. "Then we'll die together." Elena's voice was steady. "Because I'm not losing you to Calabrese, not when I've just found you again." His kiss this time was desperate, fierce, full of everything he couldn't say. When he pulled back, his eyes were dark with promise. "Stay close to me tonight. Whatever happens, you stay by my side. Understood?" "Understood." "Good." He pulled out his phone, started making calls. "Because we're about to show Calabrese what happens when you threaten a Volkov." Elena's mother arrived at the cottage within the hour. A small, fierce woman with Elena's green eyes and iron-gray hair pulled into a tight bun. She took one look at Elena standing beside Nikolai and understood everything. "So," she said in Russian, "you finally stopped running." "Mama," Elena started. "Don't." Her mother held up a hand. "I knew this day would come. The moment you were born a Volkov, your fate was written." She turned to Nikolai. "You promised me 8 years ago you'd keep her safe if she ever came back. Are you keeping that promise?" "With my life," Nikolai replied in Russian. "Good, because if anything happens to her, I'll come back from the grave to haunt you." She pulled Elena into a fierce hug. "Be smart, be careful, and remember, Volkovs survive." After settling her mother in a secure room with guards, Nikolai took Elena back to the city, but not to the penthouse, to a warehouse in Red Hook that served as a tactical operations center. Inside, 30 men waited, armed, trained, lethal. They straightened when Nikolai entered, their eyes flicking to Elena with curiosity and respect. "Tonight, we end the Calabrese problem," Nikolai announced, his voice carrying through the space. "They hit our businesses, they threatened our family, they made this personal. So we're going to show them what happens when you go to war with the Volkovs." He pulled up blueprints on a large monitor. Calabrese's compound in Staten Island. A fortress, by the looks of it. High walls, security cameras, armed patrols. 3 teams, Nikolai continued. Alpha hits the north entrance. Distraction, heavy weapons, make noise. Bravo takes the south. That's where Calabrese keeps his personal quarters. Charlie secures the perimeter, makes sure no one escapes. "And you, boss?" one man asked. "I'm going in the front door." Nikolai's smile was cold. "With Elena, we're going to have a conversation with Calabrese about respect." "That's insane," another man said. "He'll kill you both on sight." "He'll try." Nikolai's hand found Elena's shoulder. "But he's also a businessman, and Elena here is going to offer him something he can't refuse. A way out that saves face and ends this war without further bloodshed." Elena stared at him. "What are you talking about?" "You're brilliant with numbers, patterns, operations. You've seen Calabrese's books. You know where he's vulnerable, where the IRS would look, where his money flows." Nikolai's eyes held hers. "We're going to offer him a trade. He backs off, leaves us alone, and you don't turn his entire operation over to the feds." "That's..." Elena's mind raced. "That could work. He's got more to lose in a federal investigation than in a street war." "Exactly. But we need to present it in person. Show strength, not fear. Make him understand this is his one chance to end things peacefully." "And if he doesn't take it?" Nikolai's expression went dark. "Then my men level his compound, and we salt the earth where his empire stood." 2 hours later, Elena sat in the back of an armored SUV, wearing a bulletproof vest under a designer suit, her hands shaking despite her best efforts to stay calm. "Breathe," Nikolai said beside her, his hand covering hers. "You've negotiated with numbers your whole life. This is just another negotiation. Except the stakes are life and death." "That's not comforting." "It's honest." He lifted her hand to his lips, kissed her knuckles. "I won't let anything happen to you. I swear it on my father's grave." The Calabrese compound loomed ahead, exactly as imposing as the blueprints suggested. Guards challenged them at the gate, weapons raised. Nikolai Volkov to see Calabresi, Nikolai said calmly. He'll want to hear what we have to say. The guards exchanged glances, radioed someone. Minutes passed. Then the gate opened. He's expecting you, but any weapons, any tricks, and you're both dead. Understood. Nikolai handed over his gun. One of 3 he was carrying, Elena noted. The other 2 remained hidden. They were escorted into a study that reeked of old money and older violence. Calabresi sat behind a mahogany desk, the silver-haired man from the meeting, flanked by 4 armed guards. Volkov, he said, you've got balls. I'll give you that. Walking into my home after what you did to my men. They hit my businesses, threatened my family. I responded appropriately. Nikolai's hand remained on Elena's back, protective even here. But I'm not here to escalate. I'm here to end this. End it? Calabresi's laugh was harsh. You parade this girl around, claim her as yours, use her as a flex against the rest of us. Now, you want to end it? I want to offer you a choice. Nikolai gestured to Elena. Elena has examined your books through her firm. She's seen things, patterns, transactions, vulnerabilities, things that would interest the IRS, the FBI, the SEC. Calabresi's expression darkened. Is that a threat? It's information, Elena said, stepping forward despite the guns pointed at her. Your offshore accounts in the Cayman Islands, traced back to 17 shell corporations that don't withstand scrutiny, your property holdings in Miami, purchased with laundered money through a construction company that files fraudulent tax returns, your legitimate wine import business, cover for moving heroin through container ships that skip proper customs inspections. The room went silent. I've seen it all, Elena continued, her voice steady, and I've documented it. Every transaction, every shell company, every fraudulent filing. Right now, that information sits in a secure location. If something happens to me, to Nikolai, to anyone in my family, it goes straight to federal authorities. You're blackmailing me, Calabresi said flatly. I'm offering you insurance, Elena corrected. Leave us alone. Leave the Volkovs alone. And your secrets stay secret. Continue this war, and I burn your empire to the ground with evidence so airtight you'll die in federal prison. Calabresi stared at her, then at Nikolai. She's bluffing. She's a Volkov. Nikolai's voice was pride itself. We don't bluff about business. Prove it. Show me this evidence. Elena pulled out her phone, called up files she'd prepared. Transaction 247B, March 15th. $2 million moved from Apex Construction to Seabreeze Holdings in Grand Cayman. Except Seabreeze doesn't actually exist. It's a digital shell you created. The money then moved to 3 different accounts before landing back in your personal offshore portfolio. She looked up. Want me to keep going? I've got 4 years of this. Calabresi's jaw tightened. He glanced at his men. Then back to Elena. You realize what you're doing? Making an enemy of me? I'm making a deal with you. Elena pocketed her phone. You back off. No more hits on Volkov businesses. No more threats against my family. You let Nikolai and me exist without interference. In exchange, your secrets stay buried, and you avoid spending your golden years in a cell. And if I refuse? Then we go to war, Nikolai said quietly. Real war. Not just a few burned buildings. I'll dismantle everything you've built, piece by piece, until there's nothing left of the Calabresi name but ashes and prison sentences. The silence stretched. Elena could hear her own heartbeat, could feel the weight of the guns trained on them. Finally, Calabresi leaned back in his chair. You've got spine, girl. I'll give you that. Walking in here, threatening me in my own home. He smiled, cold, calculating. Your uncle would be proud. He always said you were special. Is that a yes? Elena asked. It's a truce. Calabresi stood, extended his hand. I'll call off my people. Leave the Volkovs alone. But this information you've gathered, it goes both ways. I have leverage on you now. You know too much. That makes you dangerous to everyone, not just me. She's under my protection, Nikolai said. Anyone who touches her answers to me. So you've made abundantly clear. Calabresi's hand remained extended. Do we have a deal? Elena looked at Nikolai, saw the tension in his jaw, the calculation in his eyes. This was a risk, trusting Calabresi's word, but it was also the only way to end things without more bloodshed. She took Calabresi's hand. "We have a deal." "Good." He shook once, firmly. "Now get out of my house before I change my mind." In the car, racing away from the compound, Elena finally let out the breath she'd been holding. Her hands shook uncontrollably now that the adrenaline was wearing off. "You were magnificent," Nikolai said, pulling her into his arms. "Terrifying and brilliant, and absolutely magnificent." "I thought we were going to die." "So did I." He kissed her temple, her cheek, her lips. "But you stood there and faced down one of the most dangerous men in New York without flinching. Do you understand what that means?" "That I'm insane?" "That you're exactly where you belong. At my side, in my world, mine." His forehead pressed against hers. "You saved us tonight, Lena. Saved the family. Saved me." "We saved each other," she whispered. "Yes." His kiss was deep, claiming. "We did. 6 months later." Elena stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows of Nikolai's, their penthouse, watching snow fall over Manhattan. The city sparkled below, oblivious to the empire that ran through its veins like blood. Behind her, she heard Nikolai enter, his footsteps familiar now. He wrapped his arms around her waist, pulling her back against his chest. "You're thinking too loud," he murmured against her neck. "I can hear it from the other room." "Just reflecting." Elena leaned into him. 6 months ago, I was a different person, living a different life. Regrets? Some days. Honest, because she'd learned he valued honesty above everything. I miss the simplicity, the illusion that I was clean, separate from all this. And other days? Other days I can't imagine being anywhere else. She turned in his arms. Is that terrible? That I've adapted this quickly to your world. That's survival. Nikolai's hand cupped her face. And you're a Volkov. We're built for this. The violence, the moral ambiguity, the constant balancing act between right and necessary. It was true. In 6 months, Elena had become indispensable to Nikolai's organization. She'd restructured their money laundering operations to be virtually untraceable. She'd identified weaknesses in rival families' businesses and exploited them. She'd become exactly what Nikolai had promised, his most valuable asset. And she'd fallen completely, irrevocably in love with him. "The Calabresi truce is holding," she said, changing the subject. "I got word this morning. They're withdrawing from 3 territories, focusing on legitimate business. Because you've got enough evidence to bury them 10 times over." Nikolai smiled. "You've made yourself invaluable to everyone in New York. No one moves without considering how it affects Elena Volkov." "Is that why the Romanos approached me yesterday, asking me to consult on their operations?" "Among other reasons." His expression darkened slightly. "What did you tell them?" "That I work exclusively for you. That my loyalty is to the Volkov family, always." Elena's hands slid up his chest. Was that the right answer? It was the only answer. He kissed her, possessive and thorough. "You're mine, Lena. Not theirs. Not anyone's. Mine." There was that word again. Mine. 6 months, and it still sent shivers down her spine. "Speaking of which," Nikolai said, pulling back slightly, "I have something for you." He led her to his study, the room where he conducted business, made decisions that shaped the underworld of New York. On his desk sat a small velvet box. Elena's heart stopped. "Nikolai?" "Open it." Inside was a ring. Not a diamond. Too obvious. Too conventional. Instead, an emerald the color of Volkov eyes, surrounded by smaller stones that caught the light like shattered ice. "It was my grandmother's," Nikolai said quietly. "She wore it every day until she died. My father gave it to me before the accident, told me to save it for someone who understood what being a Volkov really meant." "We're cousins," Elena whispered, even as her heart raced. 4th cousins, barely related by blood, legal in every sense. His hands were steady as he took the ring from the box. But more than that, We're partners, equals. You've proven yourself 1,000 times over these past 6 months. You've stood beside me through violence and negotiations, through threats and triumphs. You've become what I always knew you could be. What's that? The other half of the Volkov empire. My advisor, my conscience, my... He paused. My everything. Elena's eyes filled with tears. This is insane. This is us. He knelt. Nikolai Volkov, one of the most dangerous men in New York, on one knee before her. Marry me, Lena. Be my wife in truth, not just in the eyes of the organization. Let me claim you completely, legally, forever. People will talk. About us being cousins, about... Let them talk. I don't care about gossip. I care about you. About making sure every criminal in this city understands that you're not just under my protection, you're my equal, my partner. Untouchable. That's not romantic. This is. He slid the ring onto her finger. I love you. I've loved you since we were teenagers, and you looked at me like I was more than just my father's heir. I've loved you through 8 years of distance and 6 months of having you so close I could barely breathe. Marry me, Elena Volkov. Make me the luckiest criminal in New York. Elena laughed through her tears. That's the worst proposal I've ever heard. Is that a no? That's a yes, you impossible man. She pulled him to his feet, kissed him with everything she had. Yes, I'll marry you. Yes, I'll be your wife. Yes to all of it. The wedding was small by underworld standards, just the 5 families, Nikolai's key people, and Elena's mother, who cried through the entire ceremony. They married at the cottage upstate, the place Nikolai's father had built as a refuge from the violence. Elena wore white, not because she was innocent, but because Nikolai had requested it. I want to see you in something pure, he'd said, before I claim you completely. The ceremony was in Russian and English both, traditional vows mixed with promises that meant something in their world. When the officiant pronounced them married, Nikolai kissed her with possession and promise, and something that looked dangerously like joy. The reception was held at the penthouse, transformed into something elegant and dangerous all at once. The 5 families mingled, made deals, formed alliances. This wasn't just a wedding, it was a coronation of sorts. Elena Volkov, no longer just Nikolai's cousin or advisor, but his wife, his equal, his partner in empire. You look happy, her mother said, finding Elena on the balcony later that evening. Truly happy. I am. Elena touched the ring on her finger, Nikolai's grandmother's emerald, now hers. Is that wrong? To be happy in this life? Happiness is never wrong, daughter, even if it comes wrapped in darkness. Her mother squeezed her hand. Your father would be proud. You've become what the Volkov women have always been, the strength behind the power. I'm not behind anything. I'm beside him. Even better. Her mother smiled. Rule well, Elena. Rule together. And remember, family is everything. Later, much later, after the guests had left and the city slept below, Elena and Nikolai stood in their bedroom, truly theirs now. No more separate rooms. No more careful distance. Wife, Nikolai said, testing the word. My wife. Husband. Elena moved into his arms. My dangerous, impossible, perfect husband. Are you sure about this? About me? About this life? His hands framed her face, and despite everything, the empire, the power, the violence, his touch was gentle. There's still time to run, to go back to that clean life you built. I tried running once, spent 8 years pretending to be someone I'm not. Elena's hands covered his. I'm done running. This is who I am. Elena Volkov, your wife, your partner, for better or worse. Mostly worse, Nikolai said with a slight smile. I'll take my chances. She kissed him, soft and sweet. Besides, someone needs to keep you from starting unnecessary wars. That's what I have you for, my conscience, my compass. He kissed her forehead, her cheeks, her lips. My everything. They made love that night with the city spread out beneath them, Two Volkovs claiming each other completely. No more hesitation. No more questioning whether this was right or wrong. Just them, together, building something that was theirs alone. In the morning, Elena woke to find Nikolai already awake, watching her with an expression she'd never seen before. Soft, unguarded, vulnerable. "What?" she asked, smiling. "Just memorizing this. You here? Mine. Forever." He pulled her closer. "I spent 8 years imagining having you back. The reality is better than every fantasy. Even though I make you actually think about consequences now, especially because of that." He kissed her nose. "You make me better, Lena. Not good. I'll never be good. But better. That's all anyone can ask for." They lay there as morning broke over Manhattan, the Volkov empire spreading out beneath them like a kingdom. And for the first time in 8 years, Elena felt complete. She'd run from this life once, tried to be someone clean and separate and safe. But blood called to blood, and the Volkov blood in her veins had always been calling her home. To this city, to this empire, to this man. She'd answered that call. And in doing so, she'd found not just where she belonged, but who she was meant to be. Elena Volkov, wife, partner, equal. The accountant who'd become a queen. And she'd never been happier.